But VCU played. They played a game. They played smart to the point where they knew Carolina was going to pretty much give it up in the end, and that's exactly what happened.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the global authority on coaching leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, segment 1, we're going to talk about the men's tournament, best, worst, and most surprising things we have seen. I'm going to try to calm down as Coach Adams. In segment 2, we'll talk about our Final Four predictions. How good have our predictions been? Are our teams still in there, or will still be in there? And in segment 3, we have NBA news and notes, a little fisticuffs to talk about, and the WNBA finally strikes a deal. With us today, our favorite team leader, Mike King, has slid in, and our basketball correspondent, Danny Thompson, is here with us. Danny, let's start in the South. So everyone, find your South bracket. What's the best thing you saw in the South, Danny?
Well, I mean, to start things off, VCU getting that tough win over North Carolina. I was glued to that game from start to finish, and I'm thinking, I'm like, oh my God, please tell me VCU is going to pull this off, because that was it's probably the only upset I got right in my bracket, so that doesn't help right now. But VCU played a game. They played smart to the point where they knew Carolina was going to pretty much give it up in the end, and that's exactly what happened. And then with Carolina, you saw what not having Caleb Wilson is for them. They don't have, like we mention it all the time, no go-to guy. You're not going to get it done in this type of environment. And VCU did all of the little things and just kept chopping away at the lead. And it got to the point where Carolina was done once they got to the overtime period. So that was probably one of the best things. The other one is Houston's defense is cycling right now. I saw them play their first round game. I'm like, they're going to be a tough out in this bracket. With them, it's going to be a wait and see, because I still want to know how they're going to do with no true post presence inside. So those are the two best things for me out of the South bracket.
All right, Mike, what was the best thing you saw out of the South bracket?
I think the best thing is yet to come. I'm looking at this Houston-Illinois matchup, and again, I got an eye to the draft because Thunder got some picks potentially that could be in the lottery, and that matchup's going to have Flemings versus Wagler, and both could be like top 6 in the most loaded draft we've seen since who knows. I mean, this draft, it's not going to have the top end talent maybe that obviously the LeBron draft had, but this draft goes like so deep. So I'm looking at these matchups and looking for like, what are the games where it's like, ooh, this could decide, draft stock. And that's one with two guys that are going to be fighting in that same area. Two freshmen that can score the crap out of the ball. So that's for me. That's my best is yet to come. And then for me, the surprise right now is just Florida not putting away Iowa yet. We'll see.
All right, we'll go in order. We will go in order. So the best thing for me is the Nebraska story. I'm still a wrestling fan. That's the best story. So I can milk that story all week and get my Thursday, Friday ratings going. So I do like the story. Fans out there, Nebraska's coach was quite a ball player back in the day. Go do some homework. So anyway, I like the Nebraska story. Danny, what's the worst thing in the South bracket for you?
I would probably say St. Mary's blowing it against Texas A&M. I was not a high bidder on A&M doing anything as far as their first round matchup going. I thought St. Mary's had that. If we had to look at matchups, that was the best fit for St. Mary's to go in and get it done and go on to the next round. And they laid an egg against the Aggies. I was so surprised by that matchup. So that was the worst and surprising thing for me so far in the South bracket.
All right, King, what's the worst thing you saw in the South region?
I'll go UNC. I know they're missing they're missing their superstar, but winnable game was right there. You still got UNC on the jersey. One guy out, you should get out of the first round. And that game was right there for them, and they just couldn't get it done.
Yeah. The worst thing for me is the entire UNC situation. So, full disclosure, fans, the CKSA Project Virtual Internship Program has not one, not two, but three North Carolina Tar Heels on the roster. And I was just in Greensboro watching the UNC women's gymnastics team. Shout out to all ACC Sydney Seabrooks. But let's talk about Hubert. One, heck of a nice guy. Two, heck of a nice guy. But Duke down the road 8 miles has made it hard for UNC not to look at their whole situation. And their whole situation is beyond Hubert Davis. I mean, fans, they're fighting about where to put the arena. Do you renovate the Dean Dome? Do you build off site? Football is a disaster right now. You just got a lot going on. And the question I will always ask is, well, who else do you want? You going to bring in Jerry Stackhouse? You going to bring in Kenny Smith? You going to do what Syracuse did and keep it in the family? How's that worked out? Okay. So again, slow down, take a couple of days off, and, cheer your women's program on in the women's tournament. And then cool ahead, shoot down, and stop listening to social media. Stop listening to the local newspaper. First of all, I'm still surprised they got a local newspaper after what's been going on nationally. So that's the worst thing I have seen. Danny, what's the most surprising thing you have seen in the South region?
Well, Mike said his best thing hasn't happened yet. My surprising thing has not happened yet because with the way this year's tournament is going about with a lot of lower seeds, and I'll get into another lower seed later on in the segment, you don't know what you're going to get as far as the tournament goes. I mean, because even you look at it right now with Florida, I mean, as we're recording this, they're literally playing in around 32. Florida and Iowa are pretty much close with Iowa up 3 right now. So we don't know what other surprises may happen. But if I had to pick one, again, it's VCU beating Carolina because I'm like y'all. I thought Carolina had that game wrapped, sealed up with a bow. I'm like, all right, it's over. VCU's coming back to Richmond. We're gonna say, hey, good job. You got in. And at the end, Carolina blew it in the end. So I was probably say that's my surprising thing. It's not necessarily Carolina losing, the way they lost.
It happens. Okay, Mike, what's the most surprising thing for you, sir?
And I'll go with just that I was making it a game against Florida. I thought this would just get ugly. I saw Iowa. It was Maryland's last game. It was a close game. Maryland stinks. So if you can't blow out Maryland, how are you beating Florida?
Oh man! All right, so let's get the Iowa Florida thing out. As the legendary icon Nikita Koloff once said, "It's only a matter of time before the sickle gets you." So we'll just put that aside. And the most surprising thing I've seen is Houston and Illinois' dominance. Defense travels in this tournament, and the teams that are able to get a stop and still make shots are the teams that tend to go far every year. And both Illinois and Houston has shown, incredible dominance thus far. Looking forward to watching them the rest of the tournament. So let's move to the West, Danny. What is the best thing you saw in the West?
Since Mike brought up draft prospects, one Darius A. Cup Jr., who I have been high on the entire season. He pretty much has put Arkansas on his back and say, let's go. These first couple games, he's averaging 30 points and 6.5 assists. He is their offense right now. And he proved that in the SEC tournament, and it just flowed over into the NCAA tournament. If he winds up doing what people are predicting, we haven't seen a run like this since Kemba with UConn all those years ago. Because what he's doing right now is showing he is pretty much the best point guard coming out of this draft class. And if he keeps doing what he's doing, he might push up further and further into that top 3 range where we're talking. I mean, how are you going to overlook what he's doing right now? So right now, the best thing on that bracket, that region, is Darius A-Cup.
All right, King, what about you? What's the best thing in the West you saw, sir?
That's the only answer. It's him. Because early in the year, again, when the Clippers pick was looking like, ooh, that's going to be a good pick, it was like, hey, even if it's not top 3, give me Caleb Wilson or give me him. Now, I mean, I don't know if he could crack top 3, but you can't miss in this. If you're a top 5 pick, how do you miss? Because you got the 5 pick, and that's your like, oh, I didn't get
consolation prize.
That's who I'm getting, and he might end up being the best. He could end up being the best one again. Guard league, and I actually have seen him play as opposed to some of the other, as opposed to like Peterson who didn't play too much. Like I know he's come out and he's done it. So yeah, it's him. It's not even a question.
All right, with Mike King here, I'm going to be extremely petty with the best thing I saw. Best thing I saw was Villanova losing because I can't stand it. Man, I had the opportunity, and thank you to the Hoyas and their media department. The Odd Coaches podcast was able to cover games in person, and I happened to cover the Villanova-Georgetown game. Really good game, and Kevin Willard took his interview in the hallway. Fine, no problem. But in the media scrum that I was a part of, a local guy asked a question about the local team. And instead of just taking the high road, he just lowballed everything. And you're like, you don't have to be mean. You don't have to be mean. And then he was interviewed at halftime. And yes, I knew he was joking about his staff, but when I'm losing, I tend not to want to be Shucky Rimshot. I tend not to be. I tend to want to focus on my job at hand, and that's probably not the best time to tell jokes. So the best thing I saw was get the hell out, and now I don't have to talk about you anymore, and we're going to move on to the worst thing. Danny, what's the worst thing you saw, sir, in the West region?
Wisconsin blowing that lead to High Point. I did not think High Point had a chance against Wisconsin. Wisconsin looked like they were the overwhelming favorite to win that game, and just so happened they lost it on a buzzer beater. I was like, y'all blew a chance. Y'all really did. So worst thing for me is Wisconsin. That was just out of nowhere. I did not expect that to happen.
All right, King, what about you? What was the worst thing you saw?
Man, I'll go Gonzaga just being a 30 seed on reputation, but they're not. I mean, this wasn't a normal Gonzaga team, and kind of everyone expected it, and then they lived up to the low expectations, but they had that high seed. So I'll go with Gonzaga.
Yeah, for me, the worst thing goes to the High Point piece, goes to the Gonzaga piece. I am so sick of the national media crying the blues about there's no Cinderella. Hey, guys, here's booking 101 for the NCAA tournament. Give me one team or two to win the first day. You can make it to the Sweet 16, and then you got to stop, okay, because we want the ratings. I don't want these nothing-happening teams in the Final Four messing up my fun. I don't need these second tier, third tier, higher schools in there. Hey, NC State made it, and some of the boringest fans I've ever seen in my life. Hey, Alabama football, great. Alabama basketball, we don't need them. Okay. The only mid-major I needed in the Final Four was George Mason because I knew everybody and the beers were flowing. So anyway, that was for me the worst thing. Okay. Danny, what's the most surprising thing you saw in the West region, sir?
Hook 'em horns. I did not have Texas going this far. They have been playing. They have been playing very much crunch time basketball from the time they started the first four up to their win over Gonzaga yesterday. Mattis, I don't want to butcher his last name, but the big fella for Texas is playing probably some of the most physical, skilled basketball for a post player in the country right now, outside of Cam down in Duke. He's been putting up. He's he's pretty much been the engine. He's the heart for them right now. If he doesn't go, and we'll find out when they play Purdue in the Sweet 16. We'll find out if he can keep this up for them. If he doesn't go, Texas is not going anywhere. So the surprise for me is Texas. They have been playing outstanding in this tournament so far.
All right, King, what do you got? What's the most surprising thing for you?
What I was going to say, and I was saving it for here, is I'm surprised that people were surprised that Kevin Willard's a bad person, because I've known that forever. Bald fraud. No, I've enjoyed every moment. That's been my favorite thing in the tournament, is arguing with Villanova fans on Twitter.
I love it. All right, for me, the most surprising thing is that people are surprised that a school that put so much money in everything won some games, okay? So why are we surprised that Texas has basketball players when their budget's pretty high? Please don't call them Cinderella. Don't be shocked. It's okay.
Yeah, don't call him Cinderella.
I mean, you're killing me, man. I understand this. All right, Danny, we're going to go to the Midwest. What's the best thing you saw in the Midwest, sir?
Midwest region has been something that really caught my eye. What caught my eye is the play of the Wildcats. They were looking good up until today. But that whole region has been entertaining, to say the least. I mean, Kentucky and Santa Clara went into overtime. Tennessee had Miami, Ohio. That was probably the one blowout, and then whoever Michigan has been playing, those have been blowouts. But for me, the best part is St. Louis, straight up dominate Georgia. Finally, we got to see a mid-major take out a what, if you want to call them, a Power Four basketball program at this point. I've never, outside of Dominique Wilkins and Anthony Edwards, I've never really paid attention to the Georgia basketball program. So it's been refreshing to see that competitive nature inside that region for this tournament.
All right, King, best thing in the Midwest.
Early in the year, Michigan looked so good, and they just kept it going. So far, they have not been tested. So I'll go Michigan's looked the best. Next game, they'll get a bigger challenge, but still, I think that's been the best thing I've seen there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna piggyback on that, Mike. Michigan ain't playing. I'm gonna beat you and leave, and that goes straight to Coach Adams' heart. I don't even want you to think you can play with me. Okay, I don't even want you to have the ponder of Hope coming in. Hope has to go take an Uber somewhere else. So, all right, Danny, what's the worst thing in the Midwest bracket?
The worst thing is literally, to me, I don't know. I couldn't really pinpoint anything. It's and I thought I would never say that watching the tournament, that I would find a worst thing. Michigan's opponents, that's probably the worst thing, because they haven't played anybody. They've been dominating. I'm with you. Beat them and get them out of the way so you can move on to the next one. So if I had to pick one, it's been Michigan's opponents.
Okay. Mike King, what's the worst thing you've seen in the Midwest?
I was going to say the worst thing is that it's all chalk, except for 9 and 8, which to me, that's not anything. It's just been what we kind of expected to happen. That's been the worst thing.
All right. So for me, Alabama's coach, I do not want you ever to speak for me, ever. Okay. So for the last few years, Alabama has had some issues with the basketball program under the watch of their current coach. So they have a current situation that they're dealing with, and we're educators. We're going to allow the process to be the process, but please don't do that. Okay, I'm just going to leave it at that. You can go listen to the sound bites, but yeah, we don't need Alabama going very far in the tournament. We need you to go ahead and leave. All right, so Danny, what's the most surprising thing you have seen in the tournament in terms of the Midwest Division?
The most surprising thing I've probably seen is Iowa State doing what they're doing without Jefferson. Jefferson was almost like their point forward. He was the initiator of the offense, and it's almost like Iowa State hasn't skipped a beat since he's been out with his ankle injury. And when I say surprising, I don't mean surprising as like, oh man, I didn't expect him to go far. As surprising the fact that they adopted the mentality of next man up, and they are proving it and playing it phenomenally right now. So surprisingly, for me, it's Iowa State playing well without Jefferson.
All right, King, Midwest, most surprising thing for you, sir?
I'd say that Kentucky their performance in the Iowa State game, I didn't think they'd win, but at least keep it a little bit closer than what it was. But not too much surprising. It's kind of gone for the most part how we all thought.
For me, I'm surprised Michigan is this buzzsaw because I thought that once the tournament hits, especially with them, underperforming in the Big Ten, that they'd play well, but I didn't think they would just stone cold stun everybody. So that's my most surprising is, man, you guys have turned on another gear, which takes us finally to the East. Danny, what's the best thing you've seen in the East?
The mid majors outside of Northern Iowa making it tough for these powerful conferences. I'll talk more about Duke and Siena later on, but California Baptist made Kansas work. South Florida made Louisville work. UCF made UCLA work. Furman made UConn work. It was a sight to see all these mid-major programs show you why they need to be added to these schedules. Because if you think you can just go into the tournament and not think, oh man, we could just roll over these guys, not happening.
All right, King, East, best thing you've seen.
In honor of Will Cotton and my first favorite college basketball team before I went to Maryland, St. John's. I got to go St. John's because I go way back to St. John's in the 90s. So that's my second favorite team. So I'm happy they've gone this far. Rooting for Will. That's the best thing I've seen. That was a fun game today against Kansas, and Duke doesn't look Duke's beatable. So it'll be interesting to see how that one goes.
All right. So the best thing I've seen, Michigan State is tough. They are just old school. Had a chance to spend some time with my man Tom Dickman during the Hood's run to the Sweet 16, and Dickman's team just tough, man. We're just tougher than you. My mentor Hank Alada's anniversary of his passing, it's 22 tough. It's not 22 on the defense. It's 22 tough because we're just tougher than you are. And Michigan State is tough. So I'm applauding some physicality in basketball right now. So, Danny, in the East, what's the worst thing you saw opening weekend?
I mean, you mentioned Duke. I mean, Duke looked horrible in that game against Siena. And even though that this is the worst thing, that also ties into my most surprising thing. But we'll just talk about the worst thing right now. Duke thought they were just going, and it's the oh man, you heard what what's the name said in the press conference. Oh, we thought this was going to be a cakewalk. So that means that's what they heard in the locker room. It happens, but it just so happens Siena was like, nah, it's not going to be that easy. So I'm like, the worst thing is Duke looking how they look so far. They are beatable.
All right. Mike, what's the worst thing you saw in the East, sir?
I mean, the worst thing is that Duke won. Come on. And like, can Terry McNamara give a guy a breather? Like, just get. They were getting killed in the second half. Just give a guy a minute. Just let someone just sit for a minute. Have the butt hit the seat.
Mike King, you have been with me over 20 years.
Yeah, you want to shorten the bench. You want to have the bench for
8 to win. 9 of you have found trouble.
I've never heard you say 5 to win. I've never heard you say that. Give a guy a minute. I'm not saying sit him for a minute. You could find
some to play, 8 to win, 9 of you got foul trouble, and in the postseason, subtract 1 each round.
Pretend he's injured, he lays on the floor, does the Paul Pierce, get in the wheelchair, give him a breather.
All right. So for me, I'm sorry, fans. The worst thing is I have to see Danny Hurley and Mick Cronin on the sidelines against each other. They both get on my nerves. Okay, Danny Hurley can coach, but you don't have to be a behind. You do not. You represent a state institution, and then you're the home of the champions, and you're just not a good dude, man. And I don't want to hear about the joke getting into this. Why do we have to be a butt? We don't have to be a butt. Okay, so can we not do that? But I digress. Lead the referees. And man, you lucky I ain't still reffing, because I will pop you and get yelled at. But you're going to get yelled at, as Joe Clark said. You know what the fire chief said? Can't keep me out of the building. You know where he's saying it? Out in the parking lot. That's how I looked at it. So anyway, Danny, what's the most surprising thing in the East?
I mean, Mike brought it up when he bring it up Sienna. My God, Jerry McNamara, can you play more than 5 guys? I was stunned. Now, coach, you are right. When it gets to the postseason, that number dwindles.
Timeout 30, media timeout, timeout 60. Follower's not coming out, okay? He's not.
They didn't get a 6th man in the game until there was seconds left, and that's because of a foul trouble.
30 seconds.
That's when they got
We have all, in coaching, looked down the bench and know that you ain't got nothing down there. So I ain't mad at him. Okay, I ain't mad at him.
Jerry,
okay.
Gotta play somebody else.
I have to do nothing. Hey, wait a second. You saw them go to the bench, Mike King. They wanted none of that smoke. They was clapping at you. Wasn't nobody poking their lip out. They was like, go get them. So I don't want to hear. All right, Mike, what's the most surprising thing you saw?
Yeah, I think the most surprising is that all those close games in that first round from the mid-majors, just not one of them went the way we wanted. So that was a surprise, because I like you said, I don't want to see UConn, UCLA. I hate both those guys. Michigan State, I like Izzo. I like how he runs. That's fine. St. John's I like, but most of these other teams, I would have been so happy with an upset, and we didn't get it. And that was my most surprising. We didn't get any of them.
All right, so for me, as we wrap this up, the most surprising thing was the Duke chatter. Can we calm down, people? They lost 2 starters, mix it and match in lineups. Danny, you played. You have played in the mixed match lineup, and you have taken people like, I mean, if Will Cotton's on here, Foller's on here, I'm Lou Holtz, God rest his soul, talking about the Churchill backcourt and how they reminded me of Dumars and Isaiah Thomas, and we're making up all kinds of stuff because that's what we do, and that's why they call upsets. Okay, so they made it to the Sweet 16. Yeah, we're good. Keep it moving. And speaking of keeping it moving, and in segment 2, we're going to check on our Final Fours. Did we lose any? Do we still have them? I know my bracket is fine in terms of the Final Four. We'll be right back on the Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Safe Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CKA Safe Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Safe Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasafeproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Ad Coaches Podcast in segment 2, strictly for entertainment purposes only. Danny, how's your Final Four looking? You have the floor.
Right now, my Final Four is still intact. Florida is recording this on the Sunday as the round of 32 is still going. Florida down 2 to Iowa at halftime. I have them playing UConn and beating UConn, and then I have Arizona playing Michigan. My Final Four is still, still thumbs up. So my Final Four is still intact as of right now.
Okay. Mike King, how's your Final Four look?
I got Michigan beating Arkansas, so that's looking good. And then I've got Michigan State beating Illinois, and then I got Michigan beating Michigan State. So the Big Ten finally can say they have a team that's won it more recently than Maryland when they were in the ACC.
That's a high level of petty. I ain't mad at you. Okay. In the South region, I have Florida in the South. In the West, I have Arizona. In the Midwest, I have Michigan. And in the East, I have UConn. I don't have to pick a winner. I just got to pick 4. And I will be in Indianapolis. So I'm still good. And I think that's going to keep us going. Real quick, though, want to get a couple of things out of the way as we get this segment wrapped up. Every mid-major coach, it is your job and it is your duty to complain and moan about high majors not playing. Every high major coach, it is your job and your duty to say, screw you, I ain't playing you, because I got bigger fish to fry. I rather will play in all of these high-level, high major tournaments than let you come possibly beat me. That's the business. And as soon as these low major and mid-major guys get jobs, they throw their phone book away and we're not taking any of these calls. So stop it, okay? It's the same thing every year. And when I coached, I went to somebody else's tournament the first year I was the head coach, and I got screwed 3 games. Never again. I'm hosting the tournament, and I'm picking and choosing who's coming, and there's stat games for my guys. So, yeah, stop all that. Yeah, crying about nothing. All right, so fans, in segment 3, we talk about the NBA. We'll get to have some MVP talk with Mike King, and finally, we have a deal in the WNBA. Danny's going to lead that talk. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Quit your crying.
Today's student athletes face pro-level challenges without pro-level support. The CKA Safe Project is here to change that. For 16 plus years, Dr. Keith Adams and his team have provided comprehensive academic and athletic support from middle school through post-graduation transitions. NIL guidance, transfer portal navigation, academic coaching, career planning, they've got it covered. The CKA Safe Project. When your future is on the line, experience matters. Learn more at www.ckasafeproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. because it is the tournament and it's the month of March, we condensed the NBA and WNBA into our third segment. So we can review top 6 in the Eastern Conference. Pistons, Boston, Knicks, Cavs, Raptors, and the Hawks are on fire. Okay. Play in Magic, Sixers, Heat, and Hornets. And lottery bound, the Bulls, the Bucks, the Nets, the Wizards, and the Pacers. Pacers might get over by getting a high pick, and Halliburton's coming back. Hottest team this week, Hawks. And hot on the boxing realm of the Wizards. In the West, OKC is 1, Spurs 2, Lakers are 3. I don't know. We might have to start talking about the Lakers, but we'll see what happens at the end of the month. Rockets 4, Nuggets 5, T-Wolves 6 in the play-in. We've got the Suns, the Warriors, the Blazers, and the Clippers. Lottery bound, Memphis, Dallas. Dallas might get over too. Utah, Kings, and New Orleans. Hottest teams, Spurs, OKC, and the Lakers. Mike King, what is your story of the week in the NBA?
The story of the week to me is people trying to sell narratives about MVP every single time SGA's playing Denver. Oh, this decides MVP. SGA outplays Jokic and wins. Then, oh, well, SGA's playing Jaylen Brown. This decides MVP. SGA outplays Jaylen Brown and wins. Then it's Wemby's playing great. Luka's playing great. They just don't want to give it to SGA. He's got 55% from the floor. Jordan never did that. And to me, if you're doing things that Michael Jordan's never done, and you're doing things and you're taking records from the greatest stat NBA player of all time and will never be matched. No one will ever touch Wilt stat-wise. And you're taking records from Wilt. That's impossible stuff. SGA is ridiculous. I watch him pretty much every game. The things that he does, and all you see on Twitter is like the one play where he flails around, and then you get this nonsense like free throw thing, but no one says it for Jokic. And no one says it for Luka. Weird, but they do it just as much. Luka does it more, but all you hear about is SGA doing it when if you just ignore that and you actually enjoy watching basketball, the guy does things better than almost anyone we've seen. And I watched Jordan when I was young, and Kobe, it's not close because Kobe would shoot 45%. SGA shooting 55%. Like, it's insane what he can do. He's the most efficient guard we may ever see, but all you'll see on Twitter is the one play where he flails because he actually gets fouled because he's better than you. And Jaylen Brown, shut up. You're not in the vicinity of him crying about the whistle he gets. He gets the whistle because he's good. You're not as good as him. You'll never be as good as him. I'm petty though.
I love
That the revelings of a Thunder fan.
I do. But real talk, as we like to say, tell me he didn't document what he was saying. So with that, we're going to leave that for Mike. And Danny, the WNBA. And Mike's my union guy, so we're going to get him in on that. Standing on business, we've got a $7 million breakthrough. We have a verbal victory after some 100+ hours of bargaining. An agreement was reached just 51 days before the start of the 30th season. So let's give you some of the numbers, fans. Salary cap jumps from $1.5 million to $7 million. The Supermax deal goes from $249,000 to $1.4 million. The average salary increases to $600,000. The minimum salary surpasses $300,000. The previous minimum salary was $66,000. You got a landmark 20% average revenue share that was secure. Finally, tying player compensation into the league's skyrocketing growth. The deal clears the way for the Toronto Tempo and the Portland Fire to have an expansion draft. So, Danny, you have watched this from pillar to post. What are your thoughts, sir?
First things first, great wrestling reference. I love it. I'm here for it all. With the CBA, it's been an ongoing battle for the past 2 years. And getting to this point is a win-win. I wouldn't necessarily say win-win for the league, most definitely for the players, because it feels like, and I think I don't know if I've said this on here before. I'm not sure. You did not want to lose the momentum you had that has been growing over the past couple years and losing the opportunity in this 30th, WNBA season. Um, and then with the Supermax deal that they're talking about, that gives the opportunity for a lot of these women to, I mean, in all actuality, stop pursuing overseas careers, because now we're talking, does this end prioritization for players to go overseas and play now that they're getting, salaries where the minimum is 300,000, and most mid-level exceptions are probably going to be around 600,000, if not a little bit above it. So this is a big win for the players. The 20% revenue share is big, as because at first they were getting only like 9.5% of the revenue share. This is a huge win for the league and the players, because again, this capitalizes on the growth that you've been building over the past couple of years with the talent you have and the talent coming in. Now, the only questions I have is they're going to have to speed rush a lot of this stuff before the start of the season in May. You have to get 2 expansion drafts done. You have to get free agency done, which is like we said, it's over 100 players who are in the free agency pool. Then you have to do your college draft, which is literally a week or two after the NCAA tournament. Then you have to go to training camp, and then the season starts. That's where the conundrum lies. That they're going to have to condense all of those events into such a short time frame that you're going to wonder, how are these players going to be health-wise? Because that's one thing we're talking about with the NBA, with a lot of the, small tissue injuries that they've been having. How are these players going to have with such a quick turnaround? We're thinking, we don't know if we're going to have a season. Okay, now we are. But yet, majority of the league doesn't have complete rosters because a lot of players are on the market. So I think that's where my mindset is right now, is they're condensing the off-season period to such a short and rapid pace that I'm wondering, how's it going to affect play once the season's going. Is it going to take some time for these players to get adjusted to each other? Because we don't know if these players are going to be on the same rosters they were on the season prior. So
Yeah, take a 1-year draft, kids.
Yeah, that's the one thing we got to think about.
All right, Mike, you're my union guy. You have sat in on negotiations. The deal is done. Grade the deal, sir. We're educators.
I'll go B plus, just because it's getting pretty nasty there. So just getting to this point is key. But now the key is to just grow viewership, and I think, as a girl dad, I take kind of, especially as a girl dad of one of them being a basketball player, got to get her watching, because right now, I think from what I've seen or read, it's like viewership for the WNBA is like 57% male or so. And I think to make it where the next time there's an argument over this and there's more money, to keep the money going in the right direction, you got to get more and more eyeballs on the games. So that's going to be the biggest thing. Now that this is done, how do we get more people watching, keep it growing, and let the next fight be for the cap going to 20 million instead of 7 million, and all good things.
Yeah, I am always worried just about the players and the conditioning. As a coach, I was very meticulous about at the start of the season, practices are longer. They're naturally longer, so you have to build in a lot of time, a lot of reps. So you have to be very mindful of that. And I hope we don't have a bunch of heroes out there trying to rush out there, because I hope somebody protects. That's what I really hope for. So as we close, Sweet 16 is coming, but more importantly for the CKA Safe Project and the Odd Coaches Podcast, we have the Elite Eight coming. So this coming Saturday, March 28th, we have a watch party for the men's and women's tournament, Sweet 16 for the women's and the Elite Eight for the men's. So if you're in D.C., Maryland, or Northern Virginia, come join us at the Green Turtle in Burtonsville, Maryland from 5 to 9. Suggested donation, $50. We'll have light refreshments, but beverages are on your own. And the money we raise goes to support our CKA virtual internship program, the VIP program, the Odd Coaches Podcast, our organizational research. We will be at the Final Four in Indianapolis. We will be at the SAC Symposium on the campus of Howard University in April. We will be at the Black Student Athlete Summit in Eugene, Oregon in May, and we are conducting research studies. We are also supporting the Fonda Balance Grant as well as the Balanced Student Athlete Award. So again, check us out. If you're local, come by, hang out. And if you'd like to donate to the cause, go to our website, www.cksafeproject.org. Click the Donate Now button, and you will help a lot of folks. So on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches Podcast, also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the Odd Coaches Podcast on the X platform at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Keith Adams and the CKA Safe Project on social media at CKA Safe Project. For more information about the CKA Safe Project, visit them on the web at www.ckasafeproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.